45 letters that he received. Because all the management, when Prabhupada left New York, we only had association with him for at the most 6 months. That's at the most. Most of the people there had maybe 2 or 3 months, because Prabhupada did a big initiation in November of 1966. I was initiated in October, but I came in September. So we only had a few months association, and Prabhupada left for San Francisco to establish his second temple, and he stayed in San Francisco for 3 months, a long time, to give the foundation. And within those 3 months, he was able to initiate over 20 devotees. So it was very successful there. So anyway, the letters start in January when Prabhupada left for San Francisco. We did January, we did February, now we're on March. There's like 4 letters. So the first one is March 4th.
Are you going to put it on the screen?
No, I don't have that. The other ones I have.
Oh, okay.
Because this I have the hardbound. The other ones I didn't have the hard copy. So this is addressed to Brahmananda and Satsvarupa and Ray Rama and Gargamuni and other trustees of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So me and Brahmananda and Satsvarupa were officers. We're the first officers of ISKCON. Prabhupada chose us in November of 1966. This is when ISKCON actually became an active institution. Before, it was just on paper. It was incorporated in July of 1966, but it wasn't an active institution, except the only person who was active was Srila Prabhupada. And he was doing the cooking, he was doing the preaching, he was doing everything, teaching us everything. So he was active. We were absorbing everything, because everything was new to us. I mean, new culture, new everything. I mean, even Prabhupada's dress was, no one saw anybody wearing bed sheets, because in those days, people would say, "Why do you wear bed sheets?" And here Prabhupada is walking around all Manhattan with a bed sheet. And people were looking at him and staring. You know, I say, who is this person? You know. So Prabhupada is addressing the officers because he's in negotiations of purchasing the first building of ISKCON, proposed building. And we've been discussing this for the last 2 months, because we were completely inexperienced in purchasing a building. But Prabhupada really wanted this building. He saw the building. I saw the building in 1966 when we first looked at it before he went to San Francisco. And it was a historical site. It was built in the 1700s, and it was all refurbished. It was all being redone and refurbished. 3-story high building on a beautiful tree-lined street in Manhattan, Upper Manhattan. And tree-lined streets in Upper Manhattan are very rare. Mostly you see garbage cans, but there were no garbage cans there. It was all trees. So the Prabhupada really liked that building. It wasn't a very large building, but it would suit our purpose for the beginning. So Prabhupada wanted us to carry on the negotiations, and he was instructing us how to do it, because Prabhupada knew how to do these things because he learned it in Jhansi when he rented a huge property and started the League of Devotees. That was his first institution that was active in India. So he had business experience in purchasing, but we had no experience at all, and we were depending on lawyers. And that was the problem. There were like 6 or 7 different lawyers involved in this, And they were all like vultures, seeing that we were young boys. Prabhupada always called us boys, although we were grown men, in our 20s, except for me, I was at 18 years old. So Prabhupada always referred to us as boys because we were inexperienced. We were not experienced in spiritual matters or in material matters. So we didn't know how to do things. So Prabhupada was instructing us how to do this with the building. So he says, "My dear boys, please immediately hold one meeting of the trustees of International Society for Krishna Consciousness and resolve whether $5,000 should immediately be paid to the seller of the house under agreement and as advised by the appointed lawyer, Mr. Seymour Herzog." So where did the Prabhupada get $5,000? Well, this is the first big donation he received from Jayananda in San Francisco in '67. Later on, Brahmananda got an insurance payout, and I cashed in my bar mitzvah bonds, and we were able to donate another $5,000 to Srila Prabhupada, which paid for the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which Prabhupada mentions in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in the first pages in the acknowledgments. He gives all the people who were engaged in typing the manuscript and doing the editing, as well as those who gave the money. So that's where he got the $5,000. So in my opinion, the check should never be drawn in favor of the financier, but it should be drawn in the name of the original seller, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor was the realtor, so the check should be made out to him, not to the mortgage company or the financier, because Mr. Taylor would receive the total amount of $200,000 from the financier. Then we would give the money to the financier once the building is paid for.
Hold the letter a little bit down.
Oh.
Then we can see.
Okay, then I can't see.
Oh,
My eyes are not so good.
when the recording,
I know, but I can't see.
No problem.
In my opinion, so if the financier pays Mr. Taylor the purchase money, which was $200,000, it is then only the above $5,000 money should be paid on behalf of the financier, and the financier should enter the amount with a definite date or immediate possession of the house. So once we would pay the $5,000, the seller would automatically receive the $200,000 from the mortgage company, and then we would, the down payment was $5,000, and then we would make monthly payments. That was the arrangement. So, in all circumstances, the check may not be drawn in favor of the financier. Prabhupada's warning us. The check should be signed by the president and the secretary. Why not the treasurer? That was me. The reason being is because Brahmananda had a job and Satsvarupa had a job. And they were both officers. So the responsibility for the payment would ultimately rest on their shoulders. Because Brahmananda are the main support for purchasing the house. And Kirtananda is supplement to this from his kitchen department. Now, why did Prabhupada put Kirtananda as supplemental support? That he would be a guarantee from the kitchen department. How does the kitchen department pay the mortgage? Well, when me and Prabhupada sat together and he was teaching me how to keep accounts, he asked me, so what are the different accounts in our society? So we both went over that. There's the kitchen department, there's the art department, there's the temple maintenance department, there's the devotee maintenance department, there's the utility department to pay the utility. There's different departments, and you have a ledger for each one of those, you see. And Prabhupada wanted each department to be self-sufficient. So that means whatever the kitchen department took from the society, they would receive in donations from people who would leave money for the purchase of food. They wouldn't have to take from the main account of the society. They would be self-sufficient. The art department would be self-sufficient because Jyotirani could sell her paintings to the temple or private people. So that's why Kirtananda would be supplemental support from selling his prasadam or receiving donations for the prasadam. So the money, so this is very important. Prabhupada says the money in the society is yours. You can spend it any way you like, but it is my duty to give you guidance as your ever well-wisher. Just see, this is actually Prabhupada's money. It's his society. But he's saying, no, it's your society. You see, he wants us to take responsibility. And this is the main aspect that happened when he left. We became mature devotees. Before, Prabhupada was doing everything, and now we have to do everything. We have to give the class, we have to lead the kirtan, because Prabhupada was doing all those things. None of us was leading the kirtan. None of us was giving class. Prabhupada was doing morning and evening class and leading each kirtan. And now we had to do it. So by him leaving us and going to San Francisco, we had to work together and do all of these things. And now he's saying, this is your society, it's your funds, so we have to be mature devotees and work together. This is Prabhupada teaching us. And this is how he wanted the whole society to be, all over the world. You should send me a copy of the resolution you will make in this connection in the meeting of the trustees. Please note I have already advised the bank to transfer $5,000 in the account of the society and have sent them the passbook as desired by Brahmananda. Pray to Krishna for your successful transaction, and I hope when I go to New York next, I shall enter the new house forthwith. Please send me a copy of the agreement entered. With my blessings, I am your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So it's a very enlightening letter for us, because we were young boys and we didn't know what we were doing, you know. And we became too much influenced by the lawyers and their high talking and everything. They were advising us, you know. And we were listening, not listening to Prabhupada. So the next letters you'll be able to read along with me. So the next letter was on March 14th. Got to get my other glasses. I got 3 different glasses. My dear Brahmananda, please accept my thanks and blessings of Lord Krishna for your letter of the 12th instance, describing your meeting with Amaya, the illusory energy, and combating her by Krishna consciousness. In future, if anyone challenges our philosophy, one may put his questions in writing and must be prepared to receive the answers from human understanding. You got to be a human being in order to question. You are completely right when you refuse to debate within the pure debate and accept invitation for chanting a Hare Krishna mantra. Although we should not chant in a society which is disruptive, but as soon as one invites us for chanting, we take it for granted that they are friendly and we must take the opportunity. A female is never awarded the order of sannyasam because a female is never considered independent, and sannyasam was never awarded to any female in the past by the great acharyas like Shankara and Ramanuja, etc. The female sannyasins are to be immediately understood as pretenders or prostitutes. In India, they have organized so many organizations where especially young females are maintained to attract rich woman hunters who pretend to pose as righteous in the society. This is the age of Kali, which plunders away spiritual sense of the human being, and is only the divine grace of Lord Chaitanya who can protect us from all these dangerous pitfalls. You were not agitated by unfavorable criticism, and yet you chanted Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is the way of chanting Hare Krishna. I thank you very much for this forbearance. I am glad to note that you can know the foolishness of modern society in spiritual understanding, and I thank you very much for your appreciation of my association. This association is disciplic, and as such, all thanks are due to Lord Krishna, who infuses his powers through the bona fide disciplic succession. But I'm sorry to learn that Mr. Taylor, we're back to the building, apparently Prabhupada was offered to appear in a debate and also chant with some institution that had a female sannyasi, and Brahmananda refused it, although he chanted Hare Krishna. In those days, we used to preach to people who didn't understand, and we had to always remain in a humble state of mind, and many times they would start arguing with us on many things. You know, now it's globalization, so people understand things of different cultures. But back then, nobody understood what we were doing and what we were wearing. And then we put tilak on the forehead. They didn't understand these things, wearing different dress. And so we tried to explain, but sometimes they would get angry. So we would just start chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. And then they would stop and go away. It chases away the demons. And it worked. So we were now observing Lord Chaitanya's appearance day. And Prabhupada tells us how to do it. This is the first time that we're doing this because...
You skipped the part about Mr. Taylor.
Oh, good.
But I'm very sorry to learn.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to learn that Mr. Taylor is still playing in his own way. I do not know why. If the financier is paying him all cash, what is the cause of delay? We have already handed over the 5,000, and if things are still lingered in such a way, it becomes really disturbing. I shall be glad to hear from you how things are taking place. In your last letter, I was given the understanding that while signing the agreement, Mr. Taylor wasn't even present. So who got the money? Prabhupada said you give it to the seller, not to the financier. So who got the money? What did we do wrong? Lucky I didn't sign the check. I wouldn't have signed it anyway, because I knew they were doing things without following Prabhupada's order. So I wouldn't have signed it anyways. I would always ask Sasrup to sign it if there was a question.
This was something like marriage performances.
Mm-hmm.
You started, this was
Yeah.
something like marriage performances.
Yeah, this is something like marriage performances without the bridegroom. The seller has to be involved. He gets the 5,000, not the financier. The financier gets the money if he pays the total $200,000. Then you can pay the financier, but not before. So there's some conspiracy going on. In your last letter, you informed me that you are going to take possession of the house immediately. I hope you're going to do so. I may inform you that the possession must be taken on or before the 26th of March, 1967, because that is the day of Lord Chaitanya's birthday. You shall observe Lord Chaitanya's birthday as follows. Now, March 26th is very important because that's the first time that a deity is installed officially in ISKCON. Lord Jagannath was installed by Prabhupada in San Francisco, March 26, 1967. So, the picture of Lord Chaitanya, the picture of Lord Chaitanya with his party should be nicely decorated with flowers and garlands, and Sankirtan should be performed regularly from morning to evening. Just after seeing the full moon on the sky, the day's fast should be broken. I mean, the devotee should observe fasting the whole day. In the evening, the devotee should take food as an Ekadasi. So this painting was the first painting of Lord Chaitanya, which was done by Haridas. I know there's been some controversy on the internet because he denies that he ever painted it. But I think there's something wrong because he's 92 years old. Maybe he forgot or he has something wrong. Because I have Prabhupada's diary. I scanned it, and it says, in fact, it's in the month of March, that before ISKCON, where Prabhupada writes in his diary, in his own hand, Harvey Cohen came and gave me the Sankirtan picture, and I've made adjustments. I sent it back for adjustments. And from what I understand from Gurudas, he thought the Sankirtan party were ladies because they had long hair. And he put breasts on them. That's what Gurudas, I don't know if that's true, but I saw the video of Gurudas saying that. And so it was given back for adjustment. Rightly so. The picture of Lord Chaitanya with his party should be nicely decorated with flowers and garlands, and Sankirtana should be performed regularly from morning to evening. Just after seeing the full moon on the sky, the day's fast should be broken. I read that already. The next day you can celebrate feasting on account of Lord Chaitanya's appearance, and read about his life as given shortly in my Srimad Bhagavatam, and you can read also from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, part of which is going to be published in the present issue of Back to Godhead. In 1967, actually in 1966, Prabhupada started translating the Chaitanya Chaitamrita as the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So all the lectures in 66 and 67 in New York were on the Chaitanya Chaitamrita. There's the earliest lectures, there's about 80 of them, which is on my YouTube channel. You can see with subtitles. So you can watch all those lectures with subtitles. I have posted 1,000 different lectures and classes of Prabhupada, morning walks and room conversations, total of 1,000 on my YouTube channel. I just reached 30,000 views. That means 30,000 people we're hearing Srila Prabhupada.
What's the name of your channel?
Gargamuni Das. There's a number, but I can't remember the number. But just Google Gargamuni Das, YouTube, and it will tell you. But it has a good assortment. I uploaded 1,000 classes. The next day, you can, I read that, if the this is nice. This involves me. If the psychedelic men want to sell our Vishnu pictures, you can charge them at least $50 for each picture. What was this? Psychedelic men. What I did in the storefront, it had a show window, and we had the Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan party painting there on an easel. So I took that off, and I painted that whole window area with psychedelic paint called Dayglow. And I put a Vishnu in there with a strobe light. So at night, you would see, it was dark because it was black, and there was like psychedelic type of paint that glows in the dark, and with a strobe light it would go on and off, and all of a sudden you would see Vishnu coming out of the ocean, and people would stand in front of that window for hours. There were even car accidents in front of the temple because a car would stop and look at it, and then the car behind him would hit him. I mean, it really attracted a lot of people to the point where the psychedelic people wanted to buy those Vishnu paintings by Jodharani. And Prabhupada said, yes, you can sell them for $50. So that's how that happened. I even made a sticker for a car. I sold hundreds and hundreds of them with the mantra in Dayglow paint. So at night, when you shine the headlight on the bumper, it would stand out like 3D. It would be like a 3D vision. Let's see.
The display you then in one room.
Oh yeah. For returnable on demand. That means they could try it out, and we could charge them, and they can return the painting. We require many pictures as painted by Jodharani for decorating the lecture hall in the new building. Oh boy. We didn't get the new building, and the money went into the pockets of the group of lawyers.
You will be glad to learn.
Oh, where am I?
You will be glad to learn.
Oh, you'll be glad to learn that we have got another Jodharani whose name is Govinda Dasi, because she was an artist, and she did the pen and ink drawings in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. She was very good at pen and ink drawing. She's the wife of Gaur Shunda. Both the husband and wife are good artists, and they have printed a very nice picture of Radha Krishna. I am glad to learn that Donald has purchased Professor Sanyal's book, Krishna Chaitanya. Lay Professor N.K. Sanyal was my godbrother, and his book, Krishna Chaitanya, is approved and authoritative. Actually, Prabhupada told us this was actually written by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. But he purposely didn't put his name on it because they brought this to London for their preaching center, and it would look better to have a professor's name on the book than his own name. So they put Professor Sanyal's name on the book, but actually Bhaktisiddhanta wrote the book. Prabhupada told us that.
What name is it?
Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I think it's a summary study of the Chaitanya Bhagavat, I think.
Keep it very carefully.
Yeah, keep it very carefully, and we may publish it in Back to God at some articles from the book. It will help us a great deal because my spiritual master has given his approval to this book. Please keep it carefully. When I return, I shall see to it. I should be glad to hear from you when you are going to take possession of the house. Inform all friends there that I wish I may enter the house on or before the 26th of March 1967. You have done right by removing the pictures which deal in the gopis and Krishna. They are never for public show. They are very confidential and meant for advanced devotees who know Krishna fairly well. The neophytes will be misguided by such pictures. I hope you will understand me right. With all my blessings for you all, your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. The picture of my spiritual master in the Sri Krishna Chaitanya may be painted in color by Jodharani. This will be another type of picture of my spiritual. That's the picture where he's sitting straight up. I don't know if you've seen that picture. But that I remember seeing it in the book in black and white. And Jodharani used it to make a color picture. So, in fact, for the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the photos that were used in the front of the book were photos from the Krishna Chaitanya book by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, because we didn't have any photos. And in that book, it shows Lord Chaitanya's birthplace. It showed a few other photos. So there was 3 or 4 photos. So we used those photos in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And they came from Krishna Chaitanya. Because Prabhupada did, the only photo that he brought that we saw was hanging in his room, which is Panchatattva, a color poster, 8 by 10. It was framed and put on the wall opposite where he sat at 26 Second Avenue. And that was the only photo he had when he came on the ship. Now there's another letter on the 14th. Prabhupada was real concerned about the house. My dear Brahmananda, please accept my blessings and offer the same to all devotees. I'm in due receipt of your letter dated March 13th, 1967. I'm surprised to note that still meetings and negotiations are going on while our money is arrested. Prabhupada's word choice. Perfect. I do not know what sort of business is this. If the negotiations are not complete while Mr. Taylor is so unscrupulous, how this transaction can be terminated, I do not know. If Mr. Taylor is receiving cash money, then what is his further demand? I cannot imagine, because if we paid him the cash, $5,000, then he would automatically receive the financier's money of $200,000. So he would get all of his money, and the $5,000 would be adjusted to what we owe on the building, which was a monthly payment by a mortgage company, which is the financier. That's how it should have worked. But we gave the money to the financier and not to Mr. Taylor because he wasn't even there for the signing. And that's where we made the mistake. There are so many gentlemen involved in this negotiation, and all of them are Americans, so I have nothing to say in this matter. And what about Mr. Coleman? Still, he is manufacturing records? That's another problem. I mean, we were failing Prabhupada in every way. Prabhupada wanted 1,500 records in San Francisco, and we couldn't even get 10 records. because the record company wouldn't release them until payment was prepaid. And we didn't have any money. And Mr. Coleman said that he would arrange for it, but he never paid. In fact, what happened in the future is we did get the records finally, and then we got a bill for $3,000 from the record company, but Mr. Coleman had already paid them the $3,000. So they were trying to rip us off too of $3,000. I mean, we were always being tried to be cheated. At least we didn't pay that money. And we did get back some of the $6,000 that we paid. Krishna came to the rescue, and we got back $4,800. So we lost $1,200 only. So that's a miracle, because Prabhupada asked our lawyer who did the incorporation, Mr. Goldsmith, can we get back the money? And he said, no, it's lost. So it was lost, but Krishna saved the day, because even the lawyer said, you won't get it back. They gave it back because Goldsmith threatened to take them to court. That would cost them money. When we got a lawyer to say that, then they got scared. Before, we didn't have a lawyer, for us, and they were just dealing with us. And they said, these boys are stupid LSD boys, so what do they know? But as soon as the lawyer came in on our side, then they got scared. And they didn't want to go to court for a lousy $5,000, so they just gave it, some of it back. There were costs involved, lawyers' costs, time, and so we accepted that. We got back $4,800. Oh, and then, so about the records, well, I told you about that. Now, hear about him, please. And we have another problem with Mr. Ypsilanti. Mr. Lipsianti was the lawyer for the Prabhupada's visa. He was trying to extend his tourist visa, which you could not do. And we were paying this lawyer $200, $300 at a time. He kept asking for more money, but nothing was happening. So another cheater. Mr. Goldman suggested that we take $200 we have already paid him $300, and still he wants $150. But we need immediately permanent visa. Without it, I think I cannot go to Canada, because as soon as I leave the border of the USA, the bill pending in the Congress on my behalf will be automatically canceled. So I'll have to take a new visa from Canada for entering the USA, of which we cannot say anything they will decide. In any case, I will have to go to Canada by the end of April, as it is already arranged, and if it is possible to get the permanent resident visa. That's another problem. There was a law from the 1920s passed in Congress limiting the amount of visas to people from South Asia, including India. What happened is there was an influx of thousands of Punjabi Sikhs from Punjab into California, and they bought up all the land for farming, and they were producing, California is still the vegetable place of the Americas, They grow all the vegetables for the whole country. So the Punjabis were so expert, they could grow things so cheaply, and the American farmers were put out of business. And the Punjabis were buying all the land. So America Congress put a stop on this by limiting the amount of visas. So how did Prabhupada get a visa? They were only allowing 100 visas a year. And you had to be invited by a company or a university for study. So how did Prabhupada get his visa? Well, he got it from an engineer that was Gopal Agarwal, working, and he was married to an American lady, and he sponsored Prabhupada. So that's how he was able to get his visa. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten his visa. So they were going to change this law. That's what Prabhupada's talking about. There was a bill in Congress to change the law, allowing more South Asians to come in and have visas. And that was going to be changed. And it did change in 1966. So that was arranged by Krishna. So how did Prabhupada get his resident visa then? If he couldn't get a visa, you couldn't change your tourist visa to a permanent visa or a residential visa in America. You had to leave the country. So Prabhupada did eventually leave the country and go to Canada. But meanwhile, we're paying this lawyer's money, $500, I think, we paid him up to $500. And so he was doing nothing. So Prabhupada had a great idea. He applied for his Canadian residence visa to live in Canada because it's a Commonwealth nation. And India is part of the Commonwealth. And so is Canada. So he was quickly granted the permission to have his permanent residence for Canada. So then, thinking, well then now from Canada, I'll apply for America residence. And they figured, well, if Canada gave him residence, then why shouldn't we give him residence? So he got his American residence in Canada for nothing. He didn't pay up one paisa. And then Prabhupada wrote Brahmananda, you owe me $500 for the money you uselessly spent trying to get my visa when I have gotten my visa without paying a farthing. But Prabhupada was always ahead of the game. Anyway, he talks about the lawyers. I want to get to the next letter before. Regarding tilak, I give you permission for the interested friends. Friends wanted to wear tilak too, and we were using this full as earth. We didn't have tilak from India, but sometimes the art store would run out, so we would use the clay, a very dark color, grayish color. We would use clay, and even Prabhupada told us we could use water tilak if we didn't have other tilak. So that's the end of that letter.
That last part, foolish lawmakers, depending on Krishna.
The foolish lawmakers should have at least given us some facilities to make people Krishna conscious so that they may be happy in this life and in the next. The kingdom of Maya is like that. And still we have to execute our business in Krishna consciousness. Any questions? This is the last one. March 28th. With reference to your letter of the 24th March 1967, I beg to request you to see in the bank as to who has taken payment of the check. Oh boy. Prabhupada's asking who has taken, like we didn't know who we paid the check to. Whew. Did we screw up on that one? We screwed up on the immigration, we screwed up on the records, and we made complete chaos in Prabhupada's life. We couldn't even satisfy him in any way. We couldn't satisfy him with the records, couldn't send him any records. We sent him the cover of the record. He said, what good is the cover? I want the record. So we screwed up in every way. We were supposed to make the spiritual master satisfied with our service, and we were doing the opposite. But Prabhupada is so merciful. he still accepted our service, although we were inexperienced. Anyone, either Mr. Hill or anyone else who has taken the payment, must be sued along with Mr. Payne. I don't know, this Mr. Payne came in. He was the first one. He was a friend of Kirtanananda's. And Prabhupada called this whole affair the Payne affair, because it was through Mr. Payne that all this has happened. I mean, there were 7 or 8 lawyers involved in this, you know.
P-A-I-N.
Yeah, P-A-I-N. So he called it the Payne affair. In whose favor did you sign the check? I think you signed the check in favor of Mr. Hill because he's supposed to be the financier. And who else can take the payment of the check except Mr. Hill? If you expect that Payne is coming with that $20,000 second mortgage, then we shall not lag behind. We are prepared to pay the balance $5,000 and other fees at any cost. If you lag behind to pay the balance money, certainly you are not eligible to get back the money. So we should not lag behind. But if we are actually getting possession of the house, then I take the responsibility to pay the balance money, rest assured. So Prabhupada was going to raise the money in San Francisco, provided we get possession first, because we paid the $5,000 to receive the possession of the house. Until we get the possession, we shouldn't pay the $20,000. This is what Prabhupada is saying. If we get the possession, then we'll pay the $20,000, and Prabhupada is guaranteeing it himself. So he takes responsibility, rest assured. But I do not know what is the agreement you have entered into. Payment of the next installment of $5,000 is not the issue. The issue is that Mr. Payne has made a false transaction and Mr. Hill is his accomplice to take the money under the plea of being the financier to purchase the house. First of all, they're never going to give a historical New York site to a yoga society. That would never happen. And that's why this whole thing was a scam. This is a historical place. And it was even built using the same type of materials, red bricks, like they did in the 1700s. It looked like that with no cement, but nicely red bricks. It looked beautiful from the outside. So they were not going to give a historical site to a yoga society. This was all a scam.
I'm not a lawyer.
I am not a lawyer, but this is common sense affair. Mr. Hill has taken the money and he must finance to purchase the house. If he has no money to finance, then it is a cheating case, clear and simple. Mr. Lerner said that he has no money, therefore he must be sued along with Payne. I met that Mr. Lerner too. Oh, he was a friend of, all these people were friends of Kirtananda's. And he used to come to the temple with his wife wearing a nice rose in his lapel, you know, with his expensive suits, you know, showing off and trying to impress us boys. But if he is able to finance as per agreement, we are also prepared to pay the balance money. So if Payne comes with the money, I take responsibility of paying the balance $5,000. The scheme of Mr. Herzog to serve notice to Mr. Taylor will clear up the case. So to serve the notice of action to Mr. Taylor is very good. So far, the $750 paid to Mr. Payne, his firm should be given all pressure to even up to the court. He wanted us to go to court. That's where Mr. Goldsmith comes in. My point of view is that provided we are getting possession of the house, we should not lag behind in the matter of all stipulated payments. If we lag behind, we are not going to get back the money, $5,000. We want the house, and we are ready to pay all, and all hardship on our part. But if it is a maneuver on the part of Mr. Payne and his accomplice, Mr. Hill, they must be brought to the criminal court for proper punishment. If, however, we get the money back without a farthing less, we are not going to take any step, even though we do so legally. If such critical points, how you can leave New York? Suppose Mr. Payne, because Brahmananda wanted to go to Montreal, because we were starting, Kirtananda went there, and we were starting the third center in Montreal. Where am I? In critical points, how can you leave New York? Suppose Mr. Payne secures the second mortgage money by the 31st March and you are absent. Who will look after the transaction? You must get into the possession of the house for Krishna's temple, or you must get back the money for Krishna's service. And we are prepared to fulfill the terms of the agreement. On the birthday of Lord Chaitanya, we have installed the deity of Jagannath in three, Subhadra and Balaram, in the temple of the San Francisco branch. And the celebration of feasting was nice last night. People are taking interest in the temple, and they are attending meetings regularly. I think similarly, Jagannath should immediately be installed in New York. If some of you who may know carpentry can should engrave such a deity, as Shamsunda has done here, I can give you the model. If not, I shall ask Shamsunda to carve one set for you. I do not know if you're going to change the present place as is indicated in a letter of Satsarup. Actually, Shamsunda did make a set, and when Prabhupada came back to New York, not in 67, but after he came back from India, he did bring a set in 69. He brought a set of Jagannaths to New York, and they were installed in the new temple, which was at 61 2nd Avenue. You were in 61, yeah. At last I may say also, you could forget the great loss. Do works sincerely in Krishna consciousness, abiding by the order of Krishna, and everything will be in order. Now there's another letter. Prabhupada was heavy in this letter. But he says something very instructive in this letter, really instructive. And you'll see. This is the last letter. My dear Brahmananda, Satsarup, Ray Rama, Gargamuni, Rupanuga, and Donald. Donald, he worked in a high-class business firm in publishing, and he's the one that found Dai Nippon for printing Prabhupada's book of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And later they printed the magazine and so many other publications. But it was through his name he became Dwarkadish. He left later on. Please accept my blessings. I have received your letter of 24th March 67, and previous to this, I received one copy of a letter addressed to messengers William Alfred White Incorporated. I've replied Mr. Goldsmith's letter, also giving him the whole history of the cheating business. It is understood that Mr. Goldsmith says hope of getting back the money is very slim. Under the circumstances, there is no need of pushing good money for bad money. 6,000 has already been bad money, and therefore no more good money should be spent after this. Forget the chapter. Take it for granted that Krishna has taken away this money from you for your deliberate foolishness. Because we didn't listen to Prabhupada. He said, don't pay the money to the financier, and we did. If you abide by the orders of Krishna, he can give you the thing that you may need. Who ordered us? Krishna didn't order us. Prabhupada did. That means whatever orders you get from Krishna come through the spiritual master. You can't approach Krishna directly. But Prabhupada is saying whatever, he says here, whatever in the future, where am I? If you abide by the orders of Krishna, he can give you the thing that you may need. The orders of Krishna came through Prabhupada, not directly to us. We're not capable of receiving the orders from Krishna now. We have to go through the spiritual master. Be cheerful and chant Hare Krishna without any lamentation. Because Prabhupada knew we were feeling sorry. We disobeyed for many things, not only that thing. As I have told you several times that my Guru Maharaj used to say, this world is not fit place for a gentleman. His version is corroborated by the following verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said, Yasa yasti bhagavati akinchana bhakti sarvai gunya tatra samasti sura harav apbhakyatasya kuto mahagunya manarathena asato devati bahi. You have to excuse me, I have only 4 lower teeth left, so I can't pronounce things. The teeth are going fast. A person who is not in Krishna conscious has no good qualification. However, so-called gentlemen may be, or academically educated, he's hovering over the mental plane, and therefore he must commit nuisance being influenced by the external energy. A person who has ever unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead has all good qualifications of the demigods. In other words, you should not keep your trust on so-called gentlemen of the world, however nicely dressed he may be. And that was it. We were influenced by these lawyers because we were young boys and they saw, oh, we can exploit these boys very easily. And that's what they did. In the matter of discharging our mission of Krishna consciousness, we have to meet so many gentlemen, but we must be very cautious for dealing with them, as we are cautious in dealing with serpents. They're snakes. I have taken quotations from good printing houses in San Francisco for Gita Upanishad, and is estimated to cost $11,000 for 5,000 copies, case bound in golden title. I will have 5,000 from here, and shall be glad to know how much you can contribute. Prabhupada's asking us for money now, when we just misspent all his money. And now he's asking us for more money from our side. We don't have anything. So I can take up the work. I wish that you may contribute the balance either by selling my books, Bhagavatam, or by raising funds. That's like a punishment, really. Prabhupada said, now give me some money because you've lost my money, so you have to pay me back. It says over, but we don't have that second page. So I don't know what it says. So Prabhupada had already entered into agreement with Macmillan to print Bhagavad-Gita. But notice how he's calling it Gita Upanishad, because he wants to print the full volume, 800 pages, not the 250 page that Macmillan wanted to do. Prabhupada was bent on doing the full 800 page with all the purports, not just some of the purports. So he's calling it Gita Upanishad, which is not breaking the copyright or the agreement with Macmillan, because it's a different name. It's called Gita Upanishad. So Prabhupada, he's always ahead of the game, and he wanted his books published, and he even got the quotation in San Francisco. He was ready to do it, or go to India himself and print the book. That was his most important part of his mission, was to print books.
That's a really good price. Just a little over $2 per book.
Yeah. Well, we got the TLC cost $6,000, and we got $5,000. That was like $1 a book.
Hardbound too.
Yeah, and we were selling it retail for $8. And Prabhupada was giving the temples, I think, 60% off the retail value. But we were getting donations. We weren't selling them. We didn't put any prices on any of the books, except for the Macmillan, because they were selling it. I wanted to show what Prabhupada said in San Francisco on March 26. This is an excerpt from the lecture, because it's an important happening in March in San Francisco, and that's what we're on now, San Francisco. The Bhagavad-Gita has recommended hearing, chanting, thinking, worshiping, the process which we just now introduced on the advent of Jagannath Swami. Now this temple is now completely fixed. So this is the worshiping process. This is called Artika. Prabhupada's teaching us Arti. So at the end of Kirtana, this Artik will go. And the worshiping process is to take the heat of the light, and whatever your condition is, pay something for the worship. So this simple process, when we go around with the light, you touch your head and you put something on the tray. So Prabhupada was teaching all these new things in a slow format as time went on. Actually, Prabhupada had me and Brahmananda. There was a man in 26th Avenue across the street. He was making cemetery plaques. And Prabhupada wanted him to carve a Jagannath deity. And he had me and Brahmananda go across. There was a man across the street. He was on the corner of Houston and First and Second Avenue, right across the street. So we went there, and he said, "No, I only do headstones for dead people. I don't do figures." So this simple process, if you follow, if you just see how you realize the absolute truth. Another, I request you, all devotees, when you come to the temple, you bring one fruit and one flower. If you can bring more fruit, more flour, it is very good. If not, it is not very expensive. One fruit and one flower, and offer it to the deity. So I request you, when you come to the temple, you bring this. Whatever fruit it may be, it does not mean that you have to bring very costly fruit. Any fruit, whatever you can afford, one fruit and one flower. Prabhupada said that at his Bhagavatam class on March 26. Then he says, Jagannath Swami, he teaches us the mantra. Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhava Tume. Howard, repeat this. He's calling Hari Griva Howard. In the early days, he didn't call us by our spiritual names. My name, he couldn't say Gregory, so he always called me by Gargamuni. But even Brahmananda, he called Bruce, because it was easier to say Bruce. So many people he would call by their regular names, not their spiritual name. So Harigriva says, yes, Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhava Tume. Yes, this should be chanted. Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhava Tume. Sri Jagannath Astakam. And the meaning of this, sometimes in great happiness, Lord Jagannath makes a loud concert with his flute in the groves of the banks of the Jamuna. He is like a bumblebee tasting the beautiful lotus-like faces of her damsels of Raja, and great personalities such as Lakshmi, Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Ganesh worship his lotus feet. May that Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision. So that's the meaning of that mantra. How many people knew that? I didn't know. Did anyone know the meaning of that mantra? I didn't know either until I saw this. So Harigriva, he forgot to say the meaning. So he said, oh, Lord of the universe, please be present before me. So that was also at the Jagannath deity installation. on March 26, 1967. That was the first deity. But me and Brahmananda got the first deity. That was while Prabhupada was in San Francisco, before he got Malti brought the Jagannath deity to him, that she got at Cost Plus Imports. We got Madan Mohan. That was the first deity of ISKCON. Prabhupada named it Madan Mohan because it's the first deity of Vrindavan. And so he took it as the first deity of ISKCON would be Madan Mohan. It's also the first deity he worshipped because he was born in Taligunj, and right across the street from the house where he was born was a Madan Mohan temple. And he used to go there as a baby and worship there. So that was the first deity that he worshipped also.
Where's the deity?
I published it on my Facebook. I have a picture of the deity. It's a beautiful deity. Huh?
Where is the deity?
It's across the street.
Oh.
It's a temple.
Yeah, I went
Madan
there.
Mohan. And it's the same as our deity. As you know, there was no Radharani. So we got a brass Radharani. And
Second Avenue? That?
no, we got it in while we kept it in Prabhupada's closet. Prabhupada to say to wrap a clean sheet around it and keep it in his closet while we were in 26 Second Avenue. But we didn't install it at 61. We just displayed it, but it was never installed. And I put that picture on where Prabhupada is sitting in front, and you can see the Madan Mohan deity there with no clothes or anything.
Where did you find her?
Oh, Sarna Bells. He donated. He called the temple and he said, I want you to come to, it was like 10 o'clock at night and we had to take the subway. Rupanuga came with us also. He wanted to go with us. And he said, I have a gift for you. So me and Brahmananda went there. We took it at night and it was so heavy. We took a taxi back because it was so heavy.
What was the man's name?
Sarna Bells, SS Sarna Bells. He made bells, the hippie bells. And I was doing business with him. Do you know those madras cloths I used to hang in the temple? I was getting them from him. And the incense holders. I was doing all business with him. So and I saw the deity in the shop. And I said, where's this going? He said, oh, I just keep it for show. So I didn't say anything, but eventually he donated it. And that deity is in Maryland at the Potomac Temple with a brass Radharani. And that's the same deity that if you go to Taligunj, there's the Madan Mohan Temple with a brass Radharani. It's amazing. A black marble deity with a brass Radharani in Taligunj.
The Radha Krishna that were at 61 Second Avenue, that's of the three sets that for Washington, Boston, and New York? Is that?
That came later. That came much later.
Really?
Yeah, because that deity is in black. Is it black? Oh, Radha Govinda?
The little one.
Yeah, this came way before. This came in 67, in January of 67. Well, Prabhupada had just left for San Francisco when that deity came.
Was also brass?
No, it was black marble, but it has a brass Radharani. And the one in Taligunj is also a black Krishna with a brass Radharani. That's been there for 500 years or something.
Yeah. They're still worshiping.
But it's the first deity that Prabhupada, yeah. So any questions?
So you were going to say something about Prabhupada's stroke at the next time?
Yeah, so in April there are no letters because Prabhupada came back to New York on April 10th. So the next, we're going to talk about May, what happened in May. A great attack by Maya, Prabhupada said, came to stop him from spreading Krishna consciousness, and that was his stroke. And I'm going to talk about that and show a video after the stroke, how Prabhupada looked. I have a video of it. And we'll talk about, and I have the Back to Godhead article that Brahmananda wrote an essay called Swamiji Departs for India, and I'm going to read that. It's not very long. And I'll read it. It's a very emotional essay and very descriptive, because Brahmananda majored in English literature, so he's a very good writer. So the next meeting will be on that Leela. And then the letters start again in June. I think there's only 2 letters in June, so we'll include the June letters, because Srila Prabhupada is recuperating in Long Branch, New Jersey. Brahmananda rented a house.
Prabhu really endured a lot for us.
We caused him so much heartache. We couldn't get his visa without wasting money. We couldn't get him the building. We couldn't even get him a record. We got him the record cover, but we couldn't get him the record. I mean, we couldn't do anything. And still he kept us around. I don't know why. I'm surprised he wasn't cursing us every day. Oh, these boys, they're useless.
But in regards to his health,
Hmm?
even then, in regards to his health, he still moved forward.
Oh, yeah.
After a stroke, usually people are finished.
Oh, yeah. You get... Prabhupada had paralysis. Prabhupada had paralysis. He was blind in his left eye, and his left side he couldn't move. He was laying down. We went up there. We were waiting for him to come down and give class, and he didn't come down. So we went up there, and there he was lying on the floor. But he was conscious, but he said he couldn't see, and he couldn't move his left side. So usually after a stroke, you get some paralysis, like Jayapataka. He had a stroke. But I'm going to play a video which is very striking that showed what happened to Prabhupada after his stroke. You see Krishna's intervention directly. Krishna wanted Prabhupada to... He gave Prabhupada life again. He got life when he was a baby. He got life again. And he got stronger after that stroke. You don't get stronger after a stroke. You get weaker. But Prabhupada got stronger.
So, Prabhuji, those deities, did they ever get installed or not?
Yeah, they're installed in Maryland at the Potomac Temple near Washington, D.C. They're installed there. I put the picture on my... If you go to my Facebook, Gregory Michael Scharf, you'll see it there.
Prabhupada installed them?
Yeah.
Which year he got the paralysis?
Hmm?
Which year it was?
They got installed?
No, Prabhupada got paralysis as you said.
1967.
67.
Yeah. Temporary paralysis. While he had the stroke, he was blind in the left eye and he couldn't move the left side.
It was not that easy going everywhere. It was,
Well, he couldn't get up.
yeah.
We had a doctor. Anyway, I'll explain the next time. Any other questions? Okay, so you can come up for some maha provided by Mahadevi.
No, by Krishna.
No, you did.
Krishna Balaram.